Talk about pouring your plates. Plate pouring in a Petri dish or Petri plate. Okay, so we have some empty ones here. You can see that there is a lid. The lid is the top. Okay, that's the top. That's the bottom, the other side. You are going to be writing on the bottoms when you inoculate them, whenever you are putting them in the incubator, anything like that. After they have set, we always keep them upside down with the bottom up. Reasons for that, which have been covered in your manual and in the PowerPoint. But so again, this is the bottom, this is the top. When you pour plates, you pour them right side up. You have the top, you take the top off, which is the bigger part, and you have the bottom inside. Now, before we do that, we have to label them. All right, so we label them. You just use a permanent marker, a Sharpie, and you write your initials, you write your lab section and your lab group, and then also the date is good to have on there. So I've done that for 2 sets of 2. You will be pouring a number of plates, but that's just to show you what we're doing with that. Now, for the actual plate pouring, you can't feel this, obviously, but this has cooled considerably to the point where I can hold it no problem at all. It is right there on the cusp of being too cool, actually. It's going to be setting soon. Don't want that to happen. Your agar has been stored at a temperature where you have some time, but again, you want to make sure that everything is ready. You have your plates labeled and ready to rock before you go and get your agar. Once you do, pretty simple process, which I shall show you once I have the camera set up so I can use 2 hands. All right, so here we go. We grab a plate, we grab our agar, we take the foil off the agar. At this point, remember, we are working aseptically. The principle here is we don't want anything floating in from the air, we don't want anything touching anything else, so we work with things covered as much as we can, as quickly as we can, as carefully as we can, touching as little as possible. So, we remove the top from the agar, and then when we go to pour, we lift the lid just enough to be able to get the lip in, and then we pour in, okay? You don't have to put a lot, just enough to cover the bottom, plus a little bit, right? You can swirl it if you want. You really shouldn't need to, and that's it. You just carefully slide it aside, and you go to the next one. Again, you lift the lid enough that you can get the lip of the flask in. You pour in until you cover the bottom. Don't go too deep. If you go too deep, you run the risk of spilling. You're also wasting the agar, and you only have, well, we've given you enough that you can make the plates that you need to, plus a little extra. But if you go hog wild, you're going to run out. So, again, just carefully. You don't have to rush at this, but after a little while, you'll find that it's really not that difficult. Just a little bit of finesse. And that's it. You've poured your plates. Whatever agar that you have left, go ahead and cover it back up with the foil. This is not sterile anymore. We can't treat it like that, but we just don't want open containers that can spill more easily. Okay, so now that you've poured them, you just leave them there to set. They have to cool down. You can see already that the steam from the heat of the agar is collecting on top. It's, you have condensation there. We don't want that falling onto our cultures once we inoculate them, and this is why once these have set and they've cooled down, which is about 40-45 degrees Celsius, we will turn them upside down and store them like that so that any droplets that have appeared and that become drops won't fall onto our culture.